Good morning from us here at Eco News International. Today is May 7th, 2019. I'm Carter Callender.
And I'm Andrew Kerr. Before we begin, we would just like to wish all our teachers out there a fantastic Teacher Appreciation Day. Thank you for all you do by providing us with the education and knowledge that we need to make the world a better place.
In today's age, we need people like you to make sure our environmental injustices are kept right. It is essential to today's society, specifically to religious organizations, that we have people like you for our basic human needs, and so those basic human needs will be met.
There are certain principles of the church that society needs your help to uphold, such as care for God's creation, rights and responsibilities, preferential option for the poor and vulnerable, and call to family, community, and participation.
Now, these principles are violated every day all around the world. Speaking of which, yes, this just in, we have one of our travel anchors, Maddie Fisher in Scotland, with a climate emergency warning.
Scotland's first Prime Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has declared a climate emergency and vowed Scotland will lead by example by cutting carbon emissions. Sturgeon called the declaration a public promise to act on global warming and was inspired by young protesters who went on strike from school to urge action. The UK's Committee on Climate Change will publish a report which is expected to recommend more ambitious action to cut carbon emissions. There is no single definition of a climate emergency, and a declaration in itself is not a commitment to specific action. However, it is typically a call to action to be carbon neutral by 2030. The UK is currently committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, but campaigners and climate scientists warn this would not be enough to avert environmental catastrophe, demanding the UK commit to zero carbon emissions by 2025. And now back to your anchors.
Thank you, Maddie, for that exclusive story. Speaking of environmental emergencies around the world, we have environmentalist Jimmy Misley in
China
giving an exclusive on air pollution.
I'm here in China, where as many as 1.1 million people have died due to air pollution. To put this in a scale, this is about 4,000 people each day, which is estimated to be around 17% of the annual deaths in China. Not only this, but spending an hour in a place like Beijing, where the air pollution is at its worst in China, would decrease the life expectancy of that person by 20 minutes. This is violating the principle of preferential option for the poor. This violates this because it is affecting babies, one of society's most vulnerable humans. One of the reasons that air pollution is so bad in China is due to the amount of dirty coal still being burned for heating in the winter in parts of the country. This is what violates the rights and responsibilities. It is the responsibility of the government to not be burning coal, polluting the air. This is also violating the principle of call to family, community, and participation. The people are not doing enough to stop this issue. Then, this is also causing 22 million tons of lost crops each year. This is what is violating care for God's creation. In addition to the way that this is hurting the air, this is also causing the crops in the this is also hurting the crops in the country. So, this is an issue. What can be done about it? You can do your part by donating to Greenpeace. They are an organization that helps fix environmental problems. They have already brought reductions in the air pollution in China, but more work needs to be done. They need funding since they run solely on donations from people like you. That's all I have to say. Make sure you do your part.
Well, that certainly seems concerning. Now, another thing that's concerning is clean water, polluted water, and other water around the world that just isn't safe to drink. Now, who we have with us today is Hallie Smith, an environmentalist who is focused in on that clean water crisis. Hallie?
Thanks, Carter. Earlier today, I visited PepsiCo to see how their progress was coming on their mission to eradicate polluted and unsafe drinking water. According to watercrisis.org, the third leading cause of death in children is diarrhea, and 1 through 3 out of all schools lack of access to basic water and sanitation. In fact, today 1 in 9 people lack access to safe water, and 1 in 3 people lack access to a toilet. This is an issue that PepsiCo and the Pope wish to correct because it violates our basic human rights. PepsiCo has managed to make significant reductions in their water consumption in an industry that is absolutely reliant upon water resources. PepsiCo's conservation efforts earned them a Stockholm Industry Water Prize in 2012. Access to safe water is at the heart of PepsiCo's global water strategy. in which we aim to enable long-term, sustainable water security for our business and others who depend on water availability. The company has invested more than $40 million in safe water access solutions with strategic partners as part of its global goal to support a total of 25 million people with safe access to water by 2025. Likewise, the Pope has recently put a statement in regard to the crisis. He said, "The new generations are called upon together with all the inhabitants of the planet to value and defend the good." He said, "It is a task that begins with raising awareness among those who suffer the unavoidable consequences of climate change and of all those who are victims in one way or another of the exploitation and pollution of water due to various factors." Pope Francis states that clean water is a fundamental human right. This means that every person deserves to have access to clean, drinkable water. It needs to be cared for and protected. This is the job for the people roaming the world, especially those who are fortunate enough to have clean water. Pope Francis is a man for peace and for the good of all people. He wants to achieve this goal through the help of God's children. And that's all I have right now. Now back to our editors.
Wow. I'm glad we have great companies in the world that care for the environment. That's an extremely essential principle that cannot be overlooked. Now, God created the world and us. It's up to us to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable for making the world and maintaining the world as He created it. Water is important because it takes up most of the space here on Earth.
Now, we also deserve to have rights and responsibilities. Every person has the right to have access to clean water and to have a responsibility to humanity to make sure that that water is clean. In fulfilling these Catholic social principles, we must also become one with the rest of the world through solidarity and reflect on how privileged we are.
Now over to our special guest, who is a conservation biologist with the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, Abby Dorr.
And today I'll be talking to you about a very important topic in our society currently, which is plastic pollution. Did you know that over 8 million pieces of plastic find their way into our oceans every day? Over time, this has accumulated in our environment, which has caused hundreds of thousands of marine animals and turtles and 1 million seabirds to be killed off every year. All of these deaths have made a huge impact in our oceans over time, and this has led to around 150 to 200 different species to be led to extinction every single day. The thing that is to blame here is plastic and human use of plastic. The damage ranges from plastic silverware to balloons to lost fishing gear to grocery bags, and probably the deadliest product out there, as you all know, are plastic straws. These straws can get caught in the animal's mouth, nose, throat, and lungs. So here is a video of actually a group of boaters that are out on the water, and they found a sea turtle that had a plastic straw up its nose. Although tragic experiences like this happen every day, there are many ways to improve the situation and prevent further tragedies such as this turtle from happening again. Some examples of how you guys can help and how we can all help is by bringing your own reusable shopping and produce bags to stores when you go shopping, just to avoid using those single-use plastic bags, which are very bad for our environment. Things that you could purchase are some reusable straws and water bottles, and some of the more popular ones are stainless steel, glass, and bamboo. They are all very eco-friendly, and they are all super helpful for the environment. Very simple things that everyone can pretty much do, and they're easy to reuse. not a waste of money, and it's guaranteed to make a difference in the environment. So this is what we here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium actually specialize in. So we specialize in educating people, students even, and we specialize in also specialty care for these animals. So we rescue animals that come in that either have some type of disability or some type of injury that has happened, and so we take them and we rehabilitate them and release them back into the world. So what we do is we put the animals first, and we recognize our responsibility to take care of God's creations, and we are a good example of stewardship. This connects to the Catholic social teaching principle of care for creation, or stewardship. We are all called by God to be stewards of this land, and by being stewards, we are responsible for taking care of all the earthly creations and the earth itself. And so by really taking care of that, that's something that we're responsible to be doing. And you all know that it's nice to live out the popular phrase, reduce, reuse, recycle. And although that is very good, sometimes recycling companies are not always honest, or sometimes they just don't get treated, or people recycle things that they don't think they can, or they do the opposite and recycle things that they actually can't recycle. So that's just kind of something that is very different and varying, which probably turns people away from recycling. But something that we can all do is definitely limit our plastic use by, again, when you're out for a dinner or something, if they hand you a straw, say no thank you. I would just like to again thank Eco News International for having me today and for talking to you guys all about plastic pollution, and I will see you guys later.
Go.
Thank you for your exquisite work, Abby. In light of these environmental issues all around the world, we are calling a call to action from each and every one of you.
We're calling you to turn off your lights. We're calling you to not use plastic straws. We're calling you to donate to a clean water organization. Be aware of the harmful substances that you are putting in the air. This is our world, and everyone needs to start taking a stand to care for it.
Without your help, the world will eventually fall apart, and that is against our principles in the Catholic Church. Caring for the environment is essential to the well-being of us and the world.
That's all we have for you here at Eco News International. Thanks for listening. I'm Carter Callender.
And I'm Andrew Kerr.
He's Andrew Kerr. Have a great day. Our works.
And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Genesis 1:28.